All right. Well, it is 1 o'clock and we like to start promptly. So I'm going to run through some brief things, some instructions, and Tammy will do a little extra add on to it. And we'll jump in and get started. I'm Mark Smith. I'm one of the community managers along with Tammy. And I mentioned we have Markus, who's our Chief Technical Officer. And we're going to share best scanning practices. We want to walk you through some things that will help you get better results from your scans and hopefully demystify some things and right some wrongs and kind of get us all on the right path. We will have question and answer at the end. So as you're going through, if you have any questions, please use the chat, type in all of your questions. We're going to get through hopefully every question that you have, but we want to make sure again that we stay to our timeline, and we have people who are monitoring the chat for us to make sure that we can get to those questions. And we even had some starter questions at the beginning, so we have those already keyed up and ready to go. We do also have a ton of other CubiCasa team members here to help us, and our exciting marketing team. And Markus has a whole team working with him that have provided some of the answers as well. So let's get ready to jump in. What we're going to do is we're going to kind of start with the strategy, and then after we move from the strategy, we'll kind of either watch a video and then Markus will explain and kind of give you the rundown. But Tammy, do you have anything you want to add? I think I stole your thunder.
No, it's all good. I just want to say thank you again to everyone who is here, who sent us questions in advance. Like Mark said, just go ahead, type them into the chat, and we'll run through the presentation first and then get to hopefully through all your questions at the end.
Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you.
So we are going to go ahead and jump right in as soon as I figure out where my screen went.
I think we can see the presentation at least.
All right, it's all good.
Sure.
So we're gonna get it going. So one quick thing I wanted to make sure that we reiterate and go over, and Markus, you can expound on this, but when you scan, there are warnings that appear on the screen. Sometimes I know that they may not be your favorite thing, but they are definitely purposeful, and they help you as you're scanning to know. Now you see the red and white if you're too close to something, or if something is too far, it's a little bit shaded. So Markus, you want to explain a little bit more about the purpose of those warnings and why we have them?
Yeah, so a long ago, like 2 to 3 years ago, when we started the scanning side of things, we had only a couple warnings for the most obvious cases on how you can move your device in the indoor space. And during these all years, based on our data analysis and everything, we have seen that it's really important to guide the scanner so that it's as intuitive as possible on how to move into the space. So that's why there are a lot of different warnings for different movements, for example, and those usually try to guide you out of scanning practices which might not provide the most optimal results out of your scanning. And the following slides coming after this will dive more deeper into those practices, and then what is the best way to capture the indoor space. And as well, we're continuously improving the warnings and guidances to work even more intuitively as possible for different kind of indoor spaces as well.
All right. Thank you, Markus. So here we have one of the big pieces that is so important, which is how to actually point the device and then maintaining proper distance. So we're going to click this video, and Markus will walk you through what you see here.
Yeah. So basically, in here, the key takeaway from the video is to keep distance to the things what you're actually capturing. So we use a lot of AI to actually understand the indoor space and create the floor plans, what we provide. And in that case, the context is everything, so that there is relation and context to the things what are in the actual frame. So for example, on the image on the right, you can see that if you are pointing the device really closely to the things what you're capturing, it usually narrows down the field of view that what is actually being captured. And due to that, there's also lots of information. So when you're capturing something and you're actually pointing the device to the walking direction, that gives the widest field of view of content for the device. So it knows where it is and it knows where we're going. And at the same time, the device also sees to the sides. So it's not just the direct center where the content is, but if there's a wall on your left side, you can then, the device will pick it up because it lands to the field of view. And then the optimal distance is around from 5 feet to 11 feet on what is the optimal distance range on what we can then reconstruct and actually provide outwards.
Awesome. So again, it's important to keep that 5 to 11 foot distance and make sure that we're walking as we normally would through a room without being too close. The other thing that we commonly run into, not every home that we enter into, whether it be for appraisals or as photographers to shoot, is not every house are huge. So sometimes we have small, tight spaces, and we need to make sure we know how to navigate. So we're going to watch this video to understand more about tight spaces. We actually have 2 different versions, so we'll watch those, and Markus can fill in the gaps on this one as well. One of your community managers, and we're here to talk about some of the whys behind why we scan. We have a room that has some tight spaces. We have a walk-in closet, and they can both present some challenges. So we want to just walk through just how to maneuver and navigate through these spaces. Again, we've talked about in previous videos, but instead of trying to turn around in such a tight space, we're going to show you how we just back right out, and the same thing here. So you know what? Why don't we just jump in and show you how we scan it? Got everything ready. Make sure your fingers aren't blocking the view of the camera. So basically what I would do is walk forward. We're not going to crab walk. We're going to walk into the room. And instead of turning around, I simply back out of the room. As we know, it's best to keep at least 5 feet distance. So we're here, not moving too fast. And then simply backing back out. Typically, I would back completely out of the room, but you get the picture, and it's important to remember, back completely out of the room to make sure that you're able to get everything that you need to get. So again, a room like this, pretty standard. Instead of having, tight spaces and trying to turn around or moving too quickly or walking, along with the wall, you walk straight forward as you normally would. You back out of closets, you back out of tight spaces, and you'll get great scans.
Yeah, so Mark basically summarized it really nicely. But I think the reason why backing out the tight spaces is a good practice to do is that if there's a tight space and you're going to turn, then usually you're limiting the devices, the context on what it actually sees. So then usually either you're turning to left or right, you usually end up really close to some wall or furniture or anything. And then that basically creates a risk, for example, for the data to be basically too obscured in a way. So for example, our AI cannot make any sense of it, that, okay, what is actually going on in there? So, and it's okay also to, for example, if there are any bath furniture or anything, I think actually that's the next slide. So we can probably go there and I will tell more about that then.
Okay, let's do it. Hey guys, it's Mark Smith.
I think you need to click it a couple of times.
Yeah. All right, so again, we start scanning. I'm gonna walk in. I scan to make sure we have everything. And then I simply right back out of the room. And just like that, we're done.
Yeah, so for example, in that case, like going to the bath and then just walking a direct line, you usually get everything from the sides, and then you also get to the back of the wall where the bathtub is and everything. And then, for example, even though the shower curtain is blocking a small part of the bath, it doesn't matter because we know that the wall is next. The like right side of the wall is there, so we actually know that okay where the bath ends. So we have also like capabilities to actually, in a way, to see behind some of the things if we have other contextual clues from the indoor space as well. So the key takeaway in a way would be that okay, like if there are really like tight spaces or some small corner is not found, we can still capture it by the surrounding wall structures what we have there to actually make the connection without actually like pushing the phone to some really tight spaces in the end.
Awesome. All right, so again, so next, the speech recognition piece, which has caused a few issues or concerns. And Markus, you can go ahead and tackle this one.
Yes, so the story of the speech recognition was that we wanted to have an easy way for the users to add in custom room names for spaces, if there are any. We are following a certain like fixed list of like standardized room names. But then there are usually cases like, okay, for example, sewing room or something for different use cases or opinions, then it's usually it was a needed feature. So that's why it exists in the app. Then for more of an appraisal, more like really standardized use case, currently the speech recognition is not the most optimal solution to name any rooms. That's an internal technical like dependency, which is on our roadmap to basically get it more aligned, for example, with ANSI and everything. But right now, basically there's a recommendation that if we're doing an appraisal scan, there's no need to use the actual speech recognition feature. And those like changes can be, for example, done like afterwards in quick edit with the fixed list set.
Awesome. So, and I know we see a lot of it with photographers. So unless it is truly a special room, if it's a family room or living room or kitchen, you don't have to use it. And like he just stated, for appraisers, it's really not a need. So, and we do again have those fixes planned and in the works. So look forward to that in the very near future.
Yeah, and if I can like add as well that, for example, when we're producing the GLA images, most of the room names are also calculated. Like, for example, bath naming is completely tied to the actual fixtures, what are in the bath, like what is existing in the bath. So if it has a shower, for example, then a toilet seat and a sink, then it's a full bath. So it's also important to the scan captures all those points, because even like, for example, the naming is always tied to that actual data what have been found from the indoor space as well. So that's also one point in there.
Awesome. All right, so Another big issue is opening doors. And of course, we recommend from the very beginning that you open doors before you start scanning, but we also know that it's impossible to make sure that every door is open. And sometimes it leads to an exterior portion of the house. So it may not be possible. So we want to show you the proper way to open doors. So this is an example of what not to do.
Yeah, so in here, like the door is opened while it's visible for the actual device. So device sees the whole door movement. And if you can open the other one, so like play the other one. And in here, the door is opened in a way that it's outside of the camera's field of view. And then the actual space is captured. And the reason for this is that the devices are not that smart as humans in the end. So how the device knows where it is that it basically follows the actual like the view, what it sees. And then it also has like sensors in it where it like senses that, okay, which direction it is moving. And from those 2 points, it basically makes a calculation that, okay, where am I? How much I moved? Then the case with the door opening is that when you're opening a door to the camera, the devices like sensors think that, okay, yeah, I'm not moving anywhere. But then the visual feed tells that, yeah, we are moving a lot because the whole door is covering the field of view and it's moving and causing movement in there. And what happens then is that the device is really unsure about, okay, what should I do with this kind of situation? And usually then the guess is that, okay, maybe I'm moving a little, even though you're not actually moving at all. So that's why it's really important to actually, like, any door openings should be usually done like outside of the camera's field of view. And the best practice for that is that you point the camera to some open space adjacent to the actual door which you're opening. And then once the door has been opened, then you can actually move in and do a scan for the room.
All right, and let's take another example. This was a door that opened away from you. So let's actually show one where it is the other way. So again, we'll start with what not to do. And as Markus just explained, making sure that the door is not in the view of the camera.
And I would say that it's not a catastrophe in a way if that happens. Like the scan can be still recovered. Our AI systems are continuously improving them to sense these kind of cases and then try to find the actual position. But it always it makes it a bit more difficult for the system when these kind of things happen, where the whole field of view is obscured with some large moving object. And there we have then the correct way. So if you're opening something, then it's more fun. Yeah, opening it outside of the field of view of the camera.
The camera's still pointed this way while the door is being open.
Yeah. And then you can basically, yeah.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, just a side note, we were showing this for the purpose of the door. If we were actually going to scan this garage, we would have actually gone in to scan it. I just want to make sure that standing at the door was not an accurate scan for this particular portion, but this was just to showcase the door part.
Yeah. And then basically you can move into the door. So the key takeaway still is that, okay, providing a good field of view to the device so that it knows where it is. And then if there's anything really close in the end, then that's usually the sign of that, okay, yeah, right now the context is really limited. Yeah, I think we can jump to the next one.
All right. And again, this is just a quick side-by-side. We'll breeze through this one.
Yep.
All right. So next we have rooms with 7-foot ceilings or lower or A-frame. I know when I was in Chicagoland, there were a ton of homes that had, A-frames or the pitch ceilings, which is, commonplace in many parts across the country. So Markus, I'm going to start this one and then I'll pause it a little bit.
Yeah. I think we can end the video to the first instance of the line. Yeah, right about here. Yeah. So what we also like, for example, if you have like A-frames or more for like U-frames or anything, we also detected ceiling height as well. And in there, from there we can find, for example, the distances, for example, okay, is it 5 feet or below, or is it 7 feet or below? And then also that, is the 7 feet actually 50% of the actual like living space, and that has complete tied into the actual GLA calculations as well. And that is being happen. That's like our AI platform does that then. And here's just a visualization on okay how we're actually finding the areas on okay where it's actually happening from the ceiling, and then what is the position, and then on the right side you can see that where the actual line has been made as well then, and what has been excluded from the calculations.
So it's important when you walk into a room like this to make sure that you scan up and show that ceiling area. And this applies to rooms as well as any other spaces that have it.
Yeah, so like it's not a complete requirement to scan it like every time. It's more of an, okay, if it exists in the room, then you can do it. And there you can see it as well. So you find the actual line from there. Yeah, I think we can jump to the next one.
All right, so this is another one where we know there are a ton of issues when people know that someone's coming to either photograph or appraise a home. It's like, let's clean up. And then there's always that 1 or 2 or 5 rooms where everything is put into, which becomes then a cluttered space. So here's an example of a cluttered space and the best way to navigate as possible, and then Markus will give his explanation. So
yeah, so cluttered spaces are difficult, of course. Like if there's a ton of stuff and it's pretty much impossible to keep any distance to anything because everything is at your face all the time. But then it's I would say that in that point then it's like the most important part is to actually capture some of the like floor elevation. Like for example, in garages, they usually might go a couple steps down. And then on like any other occasions, then capture as much as like the space as possible in the context of like so basically you could even keep the camera a bit higher, like if it's actually the whole space is obstructed as well.
okay.
Another point to make about the cluttered spaces. So at the moment, if you have a LiDAR device, so basically iPhone 12 Pro, iPhone 13 Pro, or then the iPad Pros, with those devices, cluttered spaces shouldn't be not a problem at all due to the a bit different approach how that's being processed. Then for all the other devices which do not have that like sensing technology, then those are the more like difficult ones to actually like how or the performance is really different on really cluttered spaces. but for the future and what our teams are working on, this is the one area where the focus is as well, so that we can get more fuller results also from really cluttered spaces. I don't think even that garage was the worst one, like which has been like what the actual clutter amount can be in a space.
Definitely.
Yeah,
I think we can all attest to some major clutter.
Yeah.
So now let's shift the conversation a little bit to detached spaces, because we have some of the detached garages. We have some where there's a separate living space and we need to capture it. So why don't you walk us through this video, Markus, that kind of shows and details what happens when we have a detached space.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Tell me what you're doing there, but
making sure that she put her shoes on.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I've had some comments lately, people wondering what to do about either, getting their shoes back on or taking their booties off. So it just goes back to kind of planning your path through the house and in and out of the house and back in the house, if however it works out. That's what was going on there.
Okay. Yeah, so basically, like scanning outside, the same principles apply as inside. Usually just there's no like walls or ceiling in there, but even like railings, everything, those are detected. And you would advance through the space as you would in any indoor space as well. Of course, then if there are any like huge like snowy conditions or something, then it's probably better to just stay on some path, etc., to give more context. But even here, like the actual, like, I would say, is that a patio or something?
Yeah, it's a patio.
Yeah, so the whole area is captured from there. And then you can just walk through to the next place, wherever you're going as well. Then also there's like one small point of like on like detached spaces, or like, for example, if there's a garage like which is completely full of stuff, so even in those cases, it's also like a potential approach is that you can capture it from the outside perimeter as well. So let's say that two sides of the garage are attached to the main structure, but then the other two sides are not. So then even it could be a like good approach that when you're going to scan the patio or like porch or anything, you could actually capture the garage also from the outside. Because when you're getting those walls, we can actually get the whole garage from there. So if the garage is like full of stuff and you cannot even walk in there, like that's also one solution. But if there are any more complicated structures, like whole indoor, like ADUs or anything like that, those should be still captured from inside. So I would say that that's only a worst case scenario if there's one room which is completely inaccessible, and that, yeah, I can actually get the missing stuff from the outside, you can then do it. But it's not like common practice to do it for any like more complicated areas, because then we are missing out all the like I would say like the indoor structures, which might be then like, for example, dividing included or excluded areas, which are then really important for the GLA calculation.
Awesome.
Yeah, let's go forward.
All right, so this is going to be a great example of a bad scan. And there are a lot of pieces that Markus will explain as we get into it.
Yeah. So in here, like the key takeaway is that you're basically way too close and you're walking sideways. So you're not actually focusing the camera the direction where you're actually going, but you're only giving like really small pieces of the complete area and turning really fast. That might cause, for example, blur as well. And then you're just continuing that kind of like really, really close positioning for the indoor space. And on the next slide, we will see a development like visualization of the scan coverage, what we get. Can you go back one? Yeah, thank you. So here you can see that, okay, there's basically almost nothing actually reconstructed. And this is like a developer like view on how some things can be debugged. And as you can see, there's almost nothing in there, just due to the low context or really limited context for our AI to do its job. And from there, like there's a lot of like missing areas as well, which were not captured. And then if you can go to like the more wider scanning style where you're actually giving more context and more like visibility, yeah, you can put it on. So in here, like even at the start, you can see that there are at least 4 steps you have gone backwards. Then when you capture the hallway, you can just walk there, and when you are like around 8 feet to the end, you can capture it and then back out. And can you pause it? This is going pretty fast.
Hold on, sorry.
Oh yeah. Okay, now everyone saw the nice final output. But so yeah, for example, in here, like keeping distance to the kitchen appliances and furniture, and then just stationary capturing those, and always having the context. So if we compare it to the ladder video, you were basically only showing the stove top there and nothing else. So in here you have the context. Okay, yeah, this is a kitchen, and here are the cabinets, and here's the stove, and here's the oven, and here's the sink. So it's much more information what can be captured one single point. Yeah, and then you're basically just showing the whole kitchen area. Then when you step up to the studio sleeping side, then yeah, we can continue. Then you're basically just keeping the distance, showing everything. And then when you're capturing the other side, you actually only capture this small corner there, and then you're backing out because it's too tight space to actually turn around. And then at this point, you're turning around and then capturing the rest of it. And in the end, you can even like show the whole space like this. And this is basically the more optimal way to capture it. And then in the next slide, we will see the output. So as you can see, it's completely captured. Even the laptop on the bed, it's there. And all the wall lines are crisp, they're connected. And even the round pillar there, it's reconstructed there in this development view. Kitchen exists there. We got like this is a top projection. So the one small line there is actually the on the kitchen side. It's actually the upper cabinets as well. So we actually know, okay, how large those are. And then also the back wall of the kitchen is visible. So this is the difference between like when you optimize your scanning style, you also like improve the output of the scan a lot, as you can see here. So a small difference on how you move in the space affects dramatically to the output. Yeah, I think we can go forward. And here are some still images on, okay, keeping the distance, but not too far as well. So the 11 feet is the max. Then after that, it becomes too distant, so it's hard to find the accurate accurate like location for the walls here as well, like actually being much more like distant to the things, showing more, okay, what's going on. And if you can jump to do we have another one?
These are some of the key takeaways and some of the things that we've mentioned throughout. You know, and I think one of the keys is really planning ahead of your scan. You know, anytime I enter a home or a building, I walk the home first just to make sure that I know where I'm going, that there are no surprises, opening doors, turning on lights. That gives me a good plan as to know where I'm going, how I'm going to navigate through so that I can manage, you know, whether I need to open a door or not. And then, you know, again, making sure that we keep that 5 to 11 foot distance from the walls. This next point is so important, and Markus, maybe you can expand on it a little bit, but the order in which you scan, we recommend you start from the bottom level and then work your way up so that there's a level of progression. But you want to expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, I think that's more often like just the logic on like how you're going through. So then you can always think that, okay, yeah, I have captured this one, I can go one up as well. So as opposed to like if you start from the like the main floor or the like ground level, then you need to first scan the ground level, but then you're also like, okay, should I go down? Should I go up? Like, so it makes it one less thing to think about during the scanning as well, like when you're starting from the bottom. So then it's more like logical way to progress upwards as well. But in general, it doesn't matter in what order you're actually capturing. But this kind of flow, it also reduces the amount of you need to actually traverse through the space as well, so you can be faster. Because if you would start from the main floor, then you scan it, then you go to the basement, then you need to come up, then you need to go up again, and then you need to go down. So there's a bit of an like also the like how are you actually traversing through the space as well. Of course, it's a bit different. Like for example, if you have a second floor where you have two staircases going up, so then you can, for example, do it so that you're using the one staircase to go up, and then you're using the other one to go down as well. So there's no need to actually go up twice because you have two staircases.
Good point. And then we've talked about the opening of doors. We've talked about tight spaces, quick turns. And just to reiterate, it's important that we don't impede the view of the camera. So making sure that our fingers or anything else don't jump in the view of the camera. And speech recognition we discussed as well. So
yeah, and if I could add like one thing, like one feature on iOS, which is not on Android yet, due to some technical limitation, is that if the scan like manages to like fail during the scanning, so usually then you will get a notification that, okay, we have lost your position and you need to relocate. And in those cases, you need to just go to the previous room which you scanned and then scan there again until it finds the actual location. And the good point there is that, okay, if nothing is happening in 15 seconds, then you can go to the previous room where you were. So basically backtracking your point until the device says that, yeah, actually everything is good now, you can continue. And this is just to ensure the data quality. So main reasons are that the device has been handled in a way that we're sure that, okay, this is going to cause problems in the output. One movement is that, okay, you're scanning and then you're dropping your phone down like this. So it's actually on your hand like this there. And that this is usually not an optimal scanning style. So then we're actually cutting the scan and asking you to go to the previous location. Then let the device to know again, okay, where am I?
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Markus. All right. So now it is time for questions. And I know that the chat has been buzzing with some questions. Markus, you want to start with the questions that were pre-submitted, and then we will I'm going to turn off the screen though.
Yeah. I need to pull them up real quick. Apologies for that. Or Mark, can you actually pull them up and then, or if you can just read them like, no need to share them, but you can just read them so I can then answer.
Got it covered. So question number 1 is from Jeff. He was saying that sometimes he has trouble seeing the green mesh during scans, and it would be great if there was a setting to make it darker or more pronounced. So not necessarily a question, but a comment.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, we can definitely take a look into that and see that, okay, are there any possibilities, for example, to make the green mesh like lines more thicker, for example, as well. I would say that if you have a really white wall and then also sun is shining, it's sometimes really hard to actually see those.
Agreed. He also asked if there was some kind of way to show what you have scanned other than reviewing the video, just to make sure that a room or an area has not been missed.
Yeah, so at the moment, there's nothing on the roadmap directly, at least for the first quarter of the year on that. We have discussed that a lot within the team, that, okay, how we could let the scanners know that if they have, for example, missed a space. So we have a lot of ideas around that. So how we could actually show you like, for example, if there are doors which have never been gone through, and then let you know that, okay, there's actually a door like this way, which you actually didn't scan. But those are still on the ideal level, I would say. So no need to hold your breath on those things. But we are aligned with that. So like giving more context on what has actually been scanned would be really, really helpful, especially if the actual property which you're scanning is huge, because then it's much harder to keep track on, okay, where I was.
Okay. Now, I'm going to skip ahead just because you touched on something that was asked that I saw in one of the questions. But when you're in a bathroom or a bedroom and there's a closet that's closed and necessarily maybe full of stuff, is it necessary to open every closet door and scan every closet?
I would say no. One reason for that is that if the closet is inside the structure, so if it's like somewhere inside the structure, like opening it and showing it, it's not that necessary if you cannot actually enter it. Because that closet's, we know the outside perimeter for the closet, but we also know what is on the other side of the closet as well. So we basically get everything, we get the closet boundaries from there. So like opening the closet and then showing it, like not necessary at all times if it's inside the actual structure, like building structure.
Okay. But if it's a big walk-in closet, it's cool to walk through.
Yeah. If you can actually enter it like without obstructing the view.
Okay. So Judy asked, what is the best way to scan a kitchen island?
So you would then just walk around it and pointing the camera to the direction where you're walking. So like one good thing is that if you think that this is the path you're taking, oh, my camera is mirrored, so this is going to be weird for me. But if this is the path you're taking, so this is the kitchen island, then basically when you're here, and here's the corner, you can actually start to point the camera already at this point to this side where you're basically going. So like there's no need to like a 90-degree turn like this, but you can actually gradually, before you're approaching the turning point, you can start to turn the camera a bit like this before you're going, because the camera can see the sides, so it can capture the kitchen island. And if you want to be like throughout, then you can also do like a wide pan of the kitchen from a distance away to get everything, the countertops and everything as well.
Awesome. So Lee asked about managing cluttered spaces and tight spaces, which I think we've addressed. But then he also asked, what is the best strategy for scanning a very large property? For example, do we scan along the longest wall or the largest room and then work our way out?
Well, I would say that in there it's good to, for example, start from the lowest floor, and then it would be more of an like going through the air, like one side at the time. So you're not like just first walking through the perimeter and then doing everything from the inside, but you would actually like just advance room by room like you would. So cover one room, then go to the next room, and then just progress from there, from the next closest room, and until you have gotten everything, then going up and then continuing that, like, for example, from the staircase, if it's in the middle of the property, then just starting to go to the other side, then capturing everything from there, and then going to the other side. So like basically just like handling the levels or the floors in a way that, yeah, okay, I'm doing this side and I have gone through that, and then I need to do that side. So then it also simplifies the problem of have I gone through every room to a more simpler, yeah, I have been on this side already. I got everything from this side. Then I need to go get that side.
Awesome. Do you recommend on a big home like that using safe mode?
It might be useful, yes. Yes.
All right. So this next question is from Tim. He said, how can you get a good scan when the house is jam-packed and very messy, and there are tenants in the house and you can't really see where floorboards and walls meet and a ton of stuff in the way? I think, we kind of talked about it, but I don't know if there's anything you want to add.
Yeah, I would say that those are like really, really difficult cases. Like the most optimal way would be to use a LiDAR device, so like iPhone Pros or iPad Pros, because those have like at the moment those have the best like optimized like performance for those kind of spaces. Okay. As well at the moment.
All right, great. Tammy, do you have any questions that have come up?
There are many questions. Steve asked if we would be able to implement the use of the wide angle on the new iPhone 12 Pro Max. Would that be helpful?
Actually how like our like mobile SDK, which is basically the powerhouse of the capturing, it already uses the available, it basically uses all of the lenses already, but it's not like only using the wide angle, but it's actually combining all of those lenses in a way that we get the most amount of the data points in there. So like there's unfortunately not a way to only use the wide angle, and then of course it would cover a lot more. But then there's also the case that everything closer to the center of the image you are, the smaller they are as well. So then it also like limits in a way the amount of data, like or the content what can be captured, like in like accuracy wise, because you are still like traversing through the space, so you're getting most of the content.
Okay, good, thank you. And then Bob had a question regarding the 5 to 11 feet of distance. So he's wondering, is that right in front of you, or is that also to the sides?
Yes, so it's right in front of you. So basically, like if you're walking like this way, like if the wall is there, it's fine to basically have the camera here, because nothing is obstructing the field of view, and the wall is still captured from the side of it. So it's not actually like blocking the view in the end. So there's still context. So it's okay to have walls on the sides. Like for example, if there's a narrow hallway, you can just walk straight through it, and that's the best way to actually capture it. and the walls are really close from either side, but it doesn't matter if you're keeping the phone dead on straight.
Okay, thank you. And then Steve asked about the tight spaces like walk-in closet. So we kind of covered that one. Let's see what else. Mario asked, so versus tracking the trim of the room, so like maybe following the baseboard, just make sure that the field of view capture is the overall space within 5 to 11 feet of your position.
Yeah, so like there's no actual like need to basically point the camera to the trim board and follow that. It's more about, okay, that the camera just device just captures like most of the things. So even if the wall is at the edge of the frame, so then it's already fine because it has been captured as well.
Right. Bob asked, would it mess up a scan in a bedroom if you turn around and leave the room walking forward? So that would really kind of just be, if you have room to make your way in a U shape around a room, then it's fine. You just wouldn't want to spin, which we talked about. I think that we have addressed most of these.
I'm not sure, are you there yet? But there's one comment about the "you're too close" message.
I just got there.
Okay, yeah, my chat jumped. I lost it.
It's okay. Robert had this one. When we get the "you're too close" message and there is no way to get farther away, does the camera still capture data or does it suspend capture?
Oh yeah, it still captures. So it's more about just like guiding you that, okay, this is like too close, like to capture. And we actually had to update the too close like messaging on iOS that actually shows the area which is too close as well. So it's not anymore like a blank warning on the screen telling you that, yeah, you're too close, but it's actually showing that, okay, what is too close. But in those cases, like, okay, if it's really tight and there's no way to do anything else but like being too close, then it's more about that, yeah, you need to be then really slow as well, because closer the things are on the camera, faster they're moving while you're turning as well. So like if there are situations, it's not a catastrophe, but it's more about just like try to avoid those as much as possible.
Okay, thank you. Steve mentions that he uses a tripod and a clamp with he can attach an LED light if it's necessary, if it's too dark, a space that's too dark. So yeah, I've used, I have just a little gimbal that I use sometime, but most of the time I just hold the phone. The light could be nice depending though. I have had some spaces that are pretty dark, big garages.
Yeah, so like I would say that on iOS we have we use basically the phone's flashlight to basically give light to some spaces which are dark. But I would say that functionality is more of like preventive, like action to make sure that, yeah, everything is okay. But of course, if there are like completely pitch black rooms, that's usually like the phone's flashlight is not gonna be enough like for those. So that's why like having the light still open, it's really good in the end, like to get the most optimal results.
There was a question about pausing the scan. Is this something that could be implemented in the future?
Yes, we have talked about it a lot on like scan pausing, but there are like we have identified like some risks around that as well. Because like if you're pausing the scan, you're basically telling the phone to not do anything. So then it's basically blind and doesn't know anything where it is. And then when you continue to scan, it needs to do a relocalization. So it's to see a familiar space. So then it knows that, okay, where I am and where I'm, like, what is the relation? What is this room? Have I been here before? So then we're like, it's more often then on the technical side that, okay, we need to do more testing around that how reliably we can like get that spot on correct, so that it can be actually a feature which can be used constantly if there's a need. Right now we're using it only as a preventive feature, so that we can still recover the scan if something goes horribly wrong. Like, for example, someone dropping their phone or something, it can be still done.
Awesome.
There is a question, what if you scan the same space twice?
Not a bad thing. You can do it.
Okay.
But then, like, for example, like, I think this happens almost in every scan when you're walking a hallway to some bedroom area and then you're walking back, you're basically scanning the hallway twice. So it's not a bad thing as well. So, but the main thing is that you should be still scanning. So it's not optimal that if you have scanned the hallway once, then when you're walking it through again, the phone still needs, like, the device still needs to know that, okay, where it's going. So like stopping the actual scanning practice during that time is not good as well. So
Okay.
the device also needs to know, not only you.
Okay, good. There's a question about what we are doing with the editor. So maybe the option to move windows and maybe other things.
Yeah, though that will be definitely like a good feature for the future as well. So we're collecting all this feedback on, okay, how much people actually like to modify the content which we're creating. So this is a really helpful feedback. Thank you.
Gary asked, is it necessary to put the phone in airplane mode?
Not anymore. I think it was iOS 14 on iOS at least. So if you're getting a call, it's not gonna interrupt the scan anymore. But one point to do is that do not take the call. That's still that's still a thing.
Another question was, what if your point of contact is talking to you during the scan? Does it matter?
No, it shouldn't matter at all. And I think there was a comment about Android as well, the calls. I think Android is also, they have the new like pop-up notification calls. But depends on, okay, if you're using a really old Android phone, then I cannot 100% say sure that does it actually override it or not, because Android, there are a lot of different like custom software running on, for example, on Samsung's or Huawei's or any other phones what are there.
Awesome. So while she's looking for some additional questions, Anastasia posted a little while ago a link to a downloadable PDF that just has some of the tips and tools that we've been talking about. You could print it off, take it with you if you want, or, it's just a great resource and tool for a lot of these best scanning practices. And we also just put in the chat a link to best practices, how to scan, which also includes that same checklist, but some additional information about how to customize and set things up. So there are a ton of resources that our marketing team has put together that will really help you to guide along in the process, and some really useful tools as well there. So. And
Great.
yes, Judy, there is a recording that will be posted within a day or two, and everybody will be able to go back and watch again if they need to.
Yes.
And for any questions that we missed, we will find them, get answers, and make sure that we post them as well. Markus, any closing thoughts?
No, I think like we're always welcome to feedback, improvement ideas, and any feedback on what is working, what is not working, what could be better, what could be done differently. So we're completely open on that. So the teams are developing the technology every day, and we aim to make it better and better and improve it like all the time.
And I'll just say kudos to you and your team. You guys do amazing work. I love hearing all the technical side and getting that information to help scan better. It definitely helps. And really, to me, having that back knowledge and knowing why something doesn't work really helps me to get better scans and to be much more efficient as I'm going out. So thank you to your entire team. We appreciate the work you do and the commitment that you have to technical excellence.
Thank you very much.
Great.
And Tammy, thank you for joining us. Thank you to our marketing team. Thank you to everyone who joined from CubiCasa, from our extended team of families. And we're excited for what is about to happen, how we continue to grow and learn and do more. And stay tuned for more, because we're always going to continue to train, learn, and get some of these techniques down so that we can scan better and get better results. So thank you again for tuning in, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Yes. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.